you guys, it's me, Dr. Torie. My book is officially out. And yes, it is time to talk about ACEs. You guys can find the books everywhere. However, I would encourage you guys to go to my website, Be VicTORIEus.com, and place your order today. Yes, it's time to talk about ACEs. Let's go, y'all. Hello, hello, you guys. Welcome to another episode of Be Victorious. Of course, y'all know who I am. I'm Dr. Torie. What I love about Be Victorious podcast is it gives us an opportunity to meet people just like us, people that not just understand ACEs, but know that they have a story and know that they're not alone in their healing journey. Now, I met this young man just off of the strength of understanding his story. I think he's so amazing. He's here in Dallas with me, and he's going to be going to the conference. I think what I love about Neel is that not only does he share his story, but the fact that he's able to share it with others. I'm glad that he's here with me. Neel, where are you?
I'm right here, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm really flattered.
No, I really think you're amazing. And it's my buzzword for anybody who I think is amazing. You have to understand
Uh,
a lot of people where you're at right now, it's a lot of people that are afraid to share their story. Now, we even talked, and I don't want people to think that I apply pressure because I don't. I want people to feel comfortable. But I think it was, us having the conversation and then you actually looking at the podcast and looking at the guests and seeing some relatable people that you knew that made you feel a lot comfortable with sharing your story. So for that, Neel, thank you so much. Thank you.
oh, thanks for having me. It's my honor and a real privilege to do this. So thank you.
Hey, this is why we're here. So you know
Yeah,
about ACEs, correct?
I learned from you and your podcast, but yes, I do now. Yes.
But what do you think? Because I know anybody that knows Neel knows that you don't hide the fact that you have what we call a general anxiety disorder. It's out here, you guys. It's
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
What do you say to people that don't know about GAD?
It can be scary
Mhm.
when you don't know about it. And I get that because it was scary for me. I actually thought I had all sorts of other syndromes before I was actually diagnosed. So I thought it was ADHD because I couldn't concentrate. I thought, do I have my bipolar because my mood swings would be really erratic at times when I was really upset. And when I was finally diagnosed, believe it or not, I was actually relieved and glad to hear it. Not because, oh, I'm so happy I have anxiety. Obviously, not that, but it cleared up so much. So if you're out there and if you're struggling with something and you don't know, and you think it's this, you think it's that, I urge anybody to get the help that they need and figure it out because once you have that answer, as scary as it might be, oh my God, I'm struggling with this, it does clear up a lot and paves the way for solutions and help to deal with it.
Mhm. Because really that's why we're here. We
Yes,
want to raise awareness, but we want people to understand that they're not alone in their journey.
exactly, exactly.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate you because
Thank you.
from day one since we met, you've been
Yeah,
ready. You've been ready. You've been very active. You've been very supportive. I've actually learned a lot about you. Now, I
uh,
will let people know that you do have a podcast, that you
I
are
do.
all of these wonderful things. Tell us a little bit more about you.
So let's see. I'm a writer. I majored in journalism in school, so I was a journalist and a writer for many, many years. But there was always that undercurrent tension of something's wrong with me, but I don't know what. Why do I feel sad at situations that are not sad? Why do I feel? And eventually, and this was around 10 years ago, 10 or 11 maybe, I
Mhm.
was diagnosed at first with clinical depression.
Wow. Oh,
And once, yeah, and that was like, what? And at that time, what I previously mentioned about the scary, like, oh no, I have depression, I went through that because I never knew what it feels like to be clinically diagnosed with any mental health issue up until that point. So it was scary. And finally, but my therapist and everybody helped me work through it. But one thing I did realize is that it just has become stronger and more out there now. I had symptoms of depression ever since childhood, and therapy made me realize, hence the ACEs connection.
right.
Of when I got to know about ACEs, I was like, so that's what my therapist was talking about. It stemmed from there.
Mhm.
So there were little things in childhood that just I I knew it hurt me, but I pretended it didn't, and I suppressed it because I'm a child. What do I know? Grown-ups are telling me nothing's wrong with me. Grown-ups are telling me this is the way families are, Neel. You can't cry like a little girl. You're a man now. You're a boy now. And all these little things. So what did I do? I said, they must be right. They're grown-ups, right? Grown-ups are much smarter than kids. So
Mhm.
I suppressed it, and I suppressed more, and I suppressed more up to the point that in my early 20s, it came bursting out because the emotions said enough.
Yep.
We are crowded in here. We cannot handle it. And because you ignored us and you neglected us, now we're going to come out and it's not going to be pretty.
Mhm.
And that's how I realized something was wrong with me when I started sometimes passing out. And different people have different symptoms, by the way. In no way am I, your experience or someone else's experience might be very different because the umbrella is so huge.
It
But I
is.
started passing out, right? I started going into this state of just staring and feeling like everybody around me is away in a tunnel.
Mhm.
And all of that led me to the doctor, who said, I think you need to see a therapist to
Mhm.
have that, to be diagnosed with something. We know something is wrong with you up here. And that's when he said, you have clinical depression, and guess what? You have had it for many more years than you think you have.
Wow.
And once it took a while to accept that, I struggled with it for a bit. I was embarrassed. I tried to hide it at first, except for some very close family members. I didn't tell anybody. But then I realized that there's so many people out there like me who are hiding it, and it's not doing them any good because they're probably going through the same struggles that I am because they suppressed just like me. So
Mhm.
that's when I slowly but surely said, what I know about depression now, I need to share it to
Yep.
let other people know that they're not alone. And then last year, I also was officially diagnosed with GAD when I found out I couldn't concentrate. My mind was always on. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. I'm like, is this ADHD? And
Mhm.
then another therapist, a new one, helped me realize, no, it's GAD.
Mhm.
So I'm now on medication for that, and I'm in therapy, and it's okay. I'm handling it. You never fully heal. It's always healing.
Right.
But that's where the journey began of there are so many things that I didn't know that scared me. Let me try to help others who were in my position 10, 12 years ago.
Right. And here we
Yeah.
are. Here
Yeah.
we
Here we are. Yeah.
because what people have to understand is we're trying to get you all to understand now. So you won't have to
Right.
go through what we're going through. Because for
Exactly.
me,
Yeah.
this is heavy, heavy, heavy. It's the connection of everything to me. I think for me, the light bulb went off when you said the blackouts and that, because
Mhm. Yeah.
as someone with ACEs, that's what has
That's
happened.
right.
You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
that umbrella. It's that umbrella I talked about where so many, even if you're individual condition might be different. You might be struggling with something else. I might be struggling. But there's this umbrella of mental health, which ties into ACEs, like you said, that each gives us similar symptoms and we can all relate to each other. Even if our individual diagnoses might be different, we can still relate to each other.
you're right. And I think
Yeah.
that's the reason why we're here. So I have to
Yeah.
thank you again because of who you are is a cycle breaker. Who you
Yeah.
are, a superhero. Because again, I want to share with you guys when we first met, I didn't add any pressure to Neel. When I
That's
found out he
correct.
had a podcast, he reached out and said, "Hey, I would love for my listeners to hear you." And so I actually spoke on his podcast first. So
Coming soon.
I was very, very soon, but I was honored to see that you were ready to share without any obligation or any force. Because again, we never want people to believe that this is a forced thing when you're really
Right.
sharing your story. So for me, again, I've said it before, you're a superhero. I've said it before, you're a cycle breaker. Congratulations, because this is what
Thank
people
you.
understand and know. This telling your story is not easy at all.
It's not.
And the
Yeah.
fact that you are doing it, somebody is going to appreciate you. That somebody is me, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, ACEs, what do you think? Like, did you take the ACEs quiz?
I did. And I think this is actually, I'm so glad you brought this up because I might be in that, I don't know, minority section where things weren't overtly bad in my childhood, as so many others struggle with abusive parents, alcoholic parents, et cetera, et cetera. And I have to make the point, it wasn't like that with me, like so directly. I
Yeah,
didn't have a father or mother who beat me, definitely not. They
very good.
did love me,
Mhm.
but it was more of an internal struggle because I felt like they're not expressing it the way other parents are to me. And
Exactly.
that might have, had to do with the fact that I was born a very sick child, had
Mhm.
near death experiences as a toddler because I had severe asthma and allergies.
Hmm.
And where I think the disconnect happened is because my parents took care of my physical health a lot, which they did. Sometimes they would have to rush me to the hospital at 2 a.m. because I wasn't breathing.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think in their minds, it was we do this much for you. We take care of you. We are buying every medication in spite of it being a medical strain, not medical, sorry, financial strain on us.
Right.
How much more, what more can we do to show our love?
Mhm.
Not realizing the fact that a simple cuddle, a simple hug, a simple I love you, my son, would really have taken care of that.
It's called emotional neglect. And
Yes.
I get it because this is what I explain to people. I'm not a 10. Um,
Right.
the ACEs score doesn't refine me. I sit right in the
Right.
middle. I live in household dysfunction. That's me. And then with the recent updates, I live community violence, bullying, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Racial
Yeah.
discrimination. So I'm
Yeah.
that number, but my heart also goes out to those who have the high score. So I understand that's another how we relate because again, I didn't have that. But I have two parents. Love my parents. They're amazing.
Right.
We were the separated and divorced growing up. So
Mine
dear,
too.
but that
Yeah.
emotional neglect, oh, heavy, heavy. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because again,
Yeah.
we cannot let the ACEs score define us. It's the
Right.
awareness for me. And you pinpoint
Exactly.
you did. So you have a ACEs score. You're aware of the categories. Did you have siblings?
I did. So I have an older sister, 3 years older. She's in the Navy, so she's in Japan right now. So that's exciting. But I think one of the things that I resented growing up, and nothing against her personally, or even my parents for that matter, I'm not blaming them for this. Well, I guess I am. Internally, I am. But what I think happened is because they had to take care of me so much from a medical standpoint and rush me to the doctor and take care of my medicines, that it was almost overcompensation for the love part to my sister, is what I felt in some aspects. They didn't do it intentionally. My parents were not bad people at all. But I think I saw that, and as a kid, it kind of hurt me a lot. So it wasn't intentional neglect or intentional. We're because I saw in the quiz, it's like, was one sibling favored or the other? But I'm like, how do I answer? This is not a yes or no question for me. I can't say straight up yes or no because it wasn't intentional. It's not like, well, let's ignore Neel here and take care. No, we love you. You're our sweetheart. It wasn't like that at all, you know. But I think subconsciously, perhaps it was because we need to show the love to our daughter as well, because we're really dealing a lot with our son. So, and maybe in the love factor of getting presents and getting certain things that I saw, I'm not getting it. And as a 4 or 5 year old child, that really haunted me at times. Like, why am I not getting it? But I think in their minds, it was justified because, but we're 24/7 taking care of you, son. Like, you are getting the attention, not love, but you're getting attention. So it wasn't a black and white thing, which goes back to it's so complex. But yes, that weighted on me, but it didn't, not in the traditional way. So
Right. And I respect
yeah,
that. I respect
yeah,
that. See, now you
yeah.
see, this is the reason
I
why.
do.
And I think that's what I love. Now, I want to bring up someone very special to us. I
Hmm.
will share, and I don't hide my love for Dr. Tay because that's exactly what it is. She
Yeah.
was the one that actually speaks so highly of you. And I'm not saying that like people can't. I
Right.
love referrals because there are people
Yes.
out there that we know that I may not be able to see, and you were one of those people. I think what I love is the fact that after I saw everything, is we need more advocate people out there that are going to advocate, period.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
love about you. What I love is the fact that when you have you know your next step. And when I tell y'all he is a writer, when he needs to reflect, when I tell you I've seen some of the most heartwarming poems I've ever
Um,
seen.
yeah.
I say that to say people don't even know how to revert. So for me, you've done your research on me. I'm heavy on extracurricular activity. So you know what to do. So you're that person that understands your illness. It's an illness. We have to call it what it is.
It is.
Our go-to is how you revert your poetry, your writing, the things that you do. And I think that's the wonderful thing that people have to understand instead of wallowing in it and saying, oh, okay, well, you have to take the necessary steps. So I have to give you your props on that because you no shade. I'm a researcher. Neel, I did all my research.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Definitely.
Because you have to know, you have to understand that there are people out there just like you that want those questions, that want those
Yeah.
things, that need to know exactly what to do. The thing is, in today's society, we don't have people with the right answers. I
Yeah.
listened, you had different opinions, you had second opinions. Instead of saying, well, one person said it was this, then another person said it was this, you kept finding out, you kept doing this. And that's the
Yeah.
one thing that a lot of us may not have that opportunity, but the fact that you took those steps, I have to give you your props on that. I'm just going to be totally honest with
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And you brought up a good point about a lot of people may not have that. It took a while for me to, hey, look, I'll admit this. I had to find a therapist on a sliding scale. I'll be honest about that. I because I was like, look, I don't have that kind of money to spend like $300-400 a session. Sorry, guys. So I get it. I get that sometimes it's much easier said than done, but you just have to keep working at it to get there because it is important to get there.
Thank you. Now let me share with the audience. We have been planning a conference. This is the first of its kind, the first annual ACEs International Awareness Conference. And you're going.
Yeah, I am. Yes. And I'm so honored. Again, it's such an honor. I remember you brought up Dr. Tay. It's our mutual friend. She was the one who really inspired me to at least apply. She's like, just apply. We'll see what happens later. Just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about the outcome. And my thing was, what if I get rejected? Do I want a rejection at the beginning of 2025? Is that the first major thing? Do I want to see that? And she said, Neel, just please, I would really encourage you. And as you said before, when she knows what she's talking about. So she's the one who really pushed for me to apply. And of course, then came the positive response. I'm like, but ever since that, then it was like, I'm so honored. Yeah, I'm so honored, and I feel so proud to be able to contribute to something like this because it's the first time that I'm contributing in any shape or form to a conference. I've never done that before. So I see it as the next step. It's like, okay, I've written about mental health. I'm a podcaster about it. And now I see this as the next step. It's like, that's what I've been writing in my social media profiles. When I said when I made the announcement, it was like, guys, this is my next step now. I'm ready to move forward into on a much bigger stage. So yeah, really, really excited to be there. I can't wait.
And I have shared with people, this is what people have to understand. There's been a lot of people that have applied. Yeah. It's not really about applying to get in. It's understanding that's the key. You've done podcasts with Dr. Thelma.
Thelma, but yes.
Oh, yeah, check me.
Sorry.
And I love that. You know what I mean? You know that.
Yeah.
You know that. And here we are advocating for awareness. You have to give people opportunities sometimes. And for me, it was that. Recommendation is good.
Yes.
But awareness is another. And of course, it helps that you're coming from Dallas because it's a crew coming.
Of course. Yeah.
But that was what it was for our team. It was an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you want to be in a room. You want to get the experience. You want to be the advocate. You want to do those things. But instead of saying that this is what you are, what I loved humbly is that you said, I want it. I want to sit.
Yeah.
I want this. You were one of the first. And I want people to understand and know that, again, the strategy worked because, again, Dr. Tay is really, you could look her up. She's pretty.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's an educator just like me. We started at the same time. However, she's a teacher.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say she's in this journey of mine, and I've known her now for probably about 3.5 years. She's been a big supporter and a big proponent of me going forward as far as my healing journey. And that's the truth. Like, she helped me in ways that I can't say. Like, offline, we've had so many conversations that we are friends, and it's like it's huge influence on my life in many, many different ways.
She is. And that's what us educators do. So this is an education conference. And sometimes we have to bring in so we can educate, we can learn, and we can, because who's going to do this next? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to be the next to take the steps? Who's going to be the next person to advocate? Who's going to be the next person who's going to be that face of everything. It has to be somebody. I did not know that when you think about ACEs, with Dr. Torie, I learned about ACEs through you. And it's like, well, I
Yeah.
learned somebody else. And it's like, give your
Yeah.
role to this while you have that opportunity. And I think that's what it is for me. I haven't seen anybody as open and talk about their story and know what to do with it. And so that's why you get that opportunity. I think you're going to learn so much from the people that
Yeah.
are be there. So to be there as a as a podcaster, helping with a podcaster on facilitating, making sure that things are happening is what we need, because you're going to give that honest opinion. You're going to be that person to say, oh, this is what I learned, this is what we did, this is what happened, this is what we need to do to move forward, because you're really actually already doing that with the steps that you're taking for your life, professionally and personally. So again, I want people to understand and know, no, every person that's going is not a doctor. No, everybody that's going is not an educator. People are really going to the conference to get the full effect of the conference, because it's
Yeah.
one of a kind. It's rare. It is. People really want to attend, support, learn. And that's what it was for me. And I'll be totally honest with you. That's what it was. So, of course,
Yeah.
board, you told me why. You told the committee why. You told us why. And that's why we are here. We need more people out there that's going to advocate. We need more people that's going to share their story.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a personal question. Are we married, single, kids?
Single at the time, right now, what I mean.
Okay.
I've been in relationships before, but these last few years, as I mentioned, once I was diagnosed with depression, it can be hard navigating those relationships. So it's been a lot of on and off with people over the years. I think, honestly, I am now at that stage where if I were to get into a serious relationship, I would, for the first time in my life, be stable enough
Wow.
to give the relationship what it needs and what it deserves. So, single ladies, if you're watching, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You know what? I respect that, because
Yeah.
I have people ask, like, well, what's taking you so long, or why? I don't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. But
On.
if you're not healed, or if you're not in that journey at that right moment, it's not going to work. And it's not on the other person. It could be the other person, but it doesn't have to be. It might just be two unhealed people who do not know how to navigate their own journeys. Then how will they navigate their partnership?
And y'all want to know why he's going? Nah, that's why. Because
Yeah.
that's true. That is
Yeah.
the truth. You have to understand. Everybody's not ready to have that seat at the table until you understand and taking the steps for healing for yourself, then you will not heal. It's called unresolved, unhealed childhood trauma.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And it even goes through friendships. It's not just, I mean, I'll say it like one of the, I just recently went to like a journalism team reunion team I studied with in school. And it was like 20 years since some of us had seen each other. And there was one person who I was friends with at first, and then 20 years ago had a very bitter falling out because both of us were not in the right space. It wasn't her fault or mine. It was one of those clashes. And this is just friendship, nothing else. And we made up because now 20 years later in our life, both of us were in a better place to where that. So it's like, even in all my relationships, I've noticed that once I went on that path of understanding myself,
Yep.
it's slowly but surely making it easier to navigate through all kinds of relationships.
Y'all gonna learn from Neel today, because I'm gonna tell you, This is the reason why we have this podcast. Neel, I think you are truly amazing. I
Oh,
stand
thank you.
on everything that Dr. Tay said. I do, because this was my pleasure and honor.
Oh,
It's what
thank
happens.
you.
I recommendations and referrals for sure. But when it comes to you, I love that we've developed our own relationship. We've developed
Oh,
our own, establishment of trust in regards to understanding ACEs and things of that nature. And again, it's going to be my pleasure. We can meet tomorrow for all I care. However, I want the team to know that yes, Neel is definitely coming to the conference. And he's going to be that one that's going to share not just the conference, how things are going. It might be something that triggers you. It might be something that enlightens you. There's going to be so many things that are going on. I actually also want you to meet Mick. We're going to
okay.
do a poetry set. It's people that want to pour. It's people that want to have the conversation. It's people that want to express themselves. And one of the big things that they talked about, we're definitely planning like a poetry set. I would love for you to go ahead and drop some gems,
Okay.
because there are people, you're going to meet so many people that do exactly what you do. Instead of taking it out on other things, they get to writing and they write it down on paper. I also want to shout out a young lady that's going to be there. Her name is Francine. I'm actually going to visit her. I've been mentoring her too. I'm going to visit
Huh? Okay.
her poetry book coming out on the 21st.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
hint, hint. We got some work. Oh, because it's just
Definitely.
nature. I think it would be cool for us to like have a poetry book where people are, sharing their stories and talking about the things that they've been through so more people can understand. So I thank you
Yeah.
for, I told you it wasn't going to be bad. And look
Not
at
at all. Not at all. And I remember, I think it's important to note you shared this when you sent me the calendar. Like, I remember your words. It's like you said, again, no rush at all. You put that in the email. So I think that's important to point out.
that.
Yeah.
Because again, what has happened from the podcast is I've developed authentic relationships with people. And I think that
Yeah.
is why we have a conference. Because if you notice, it's a lot of people from the podcast. These are
Yeah.
educators, these are professionals, these are humans that have ACEs, and all we're doing is
Yeah.
getting together, spreading awareness as we should. So let the audience, let the world know where they can find you.
So I have primarily it's Instagram. It's Carpe Secundus, which is, I know, a little bit of a tongue twister. I get it. But it's an old takeoff on the Latin saying carpe diem, which means seize the day. And I always say carpe secundus, which seize the moment, because you can't seize the day because you don't know what's going to happen 2 hours from now. So that's where that came from. So if you can put it in your link, it's CARPESECONDUS. She even I forget sometimes. So that's my primary thing, but I'm also on YouTube as Neel T 2001. That's pretty much other than Instagram. That's my ID everywhere. So if somebody types in Neel T 2001, they can pretty much get anything else, whether it's Twitter, X, I guess now, and other social media profiles. So
Well,
yeah.
I thank you. And our audience is going to love you. They're going to love you at the conference. They're going to more of us because again, we have plenty of things that we're going to be working on. You guys can find me everywhere, Dr. Victorious. I'm jumping on LinkedIn again, by the way. And I tell you, I love it. It is an amazing thing. My YouTube still waiting. I think once people see and understand how much of a gem it is, it's going to continue to be a great educational resource. So we thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode of Be Victorious, and we will talk to you guys soon. Don't forget about our conference, April 23rd through the 25th in Chicago. We're going to take over. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.